I made a life-changing decision at the age of 50 to give up my corporate job. Gosh, that was really, really hard. And I had been wanting to do it probably for about 8 years. I think I got to about the age of 42 and I'd really had enough. I don't know whether you can relate to this or not. It's so difficult, isn't it? Because I think you get to a certain age, you have a certain level of experience in your job, in your career, and you're paid a good salary, and it becomes, in a way, the job, I think, really with the golden handcuffs. But always at the back of my mind was always this saying that life is not a dress rehearsal and you get one chance at living it. And for me, and I don't know whether you can relate to this, but I always thought there was more to me, and there was more to my capabilities than working in a corporate job and having a safe corporate job and really being on the treadmill of life, of working life. And I hated that Sunday night feeling, where you think, oh God, I've got work tomorrow morning. And the best part of your week was the weekend, really. And I just felt I could do so much more. But I was tied down. I had 3 children. They were going through university. I was a single mum. So you have to make a decision. I'm sure, I would imagine that a lot of people can relate to that. Well, I didn't want to do that. I've always had this feeling that when I'm 90 years old and I'm that little old lady sitting in that nursing home and I'm reflecting on my life, I look back at my life and I think, have I made the right decisions? I don't want to be 90 and look back and, oh my gosh, haven't we all made bad decisions? Can't we look back with disappointment at some of the decisions that we've made? Or we can look back and think, I could have done it so much better, or I handled that badly. But I'm a great believer that all we can do is move forward, and we have learnings from the mistakes that we make in our lives. And if we don't make those mistakes again or time and time again, then that's a good thing. So at the age of 50, I was sitting on a company conference, and the national sales director, a new national sales director, came to sit next to me. And I suspect what it really was he probably wasn't sitting next to the 25-year-olds, and he was stuck next to me, even though I had 20 years of experience, have been top sales representative in the company, year in, year out. Yet, oh God, it was an evening when, after I left the meal, I went back to my room. I do really want to thank him, because he made my decision for me, because I knew that I didn't want to spend the next 15 years in the company. And what I could see in my company is that people were just hanging on to their jobs because they were hoping for the big payoff. So I left conference, and a month later, I resigned from my corporate job, much to the amazement of a lot of my colleagues. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But what I did know was I wanted to start my own business. I felt I was entrepreneurial. Even at 50, I always thought I'm an entrepreneur, but I was sort of stuck in the shackles and the handcuffs of a well-paid corporate job, and that makes it really, really hard. I think especially when you have commitments, you have children, you have mortgages, you have all these things. As you get older, it does, I think, without a shadow of a doubt, get harder, doesn't it? It does. When you're young, you don't have the same sort of commitments. You can do these things, but suddenly you're tied down with your mortgage, you've got 3 children, and you have responsibilities. And so my children had just left university, and I remember talking to them and saying to them, I'm thinking about leaving my corporate job and starting my own business. I'm not quite sure what yet. And they said, Mum, you've got to do it. You'll be really, really good. You do it, Mum. You've wanted to do this for years and years and years. And so I did it. Now, I didn't literally just leave a job with nothing in the background. I'm not that stupid. Fortunately, 2 years before, and don't we always wish we did it 10, 20, 30 years ago? I bought a property. I actually bought a small commercial property. The income, the rental income from that property actually covered all my living expenses. It covered my mortgage, it covered my utilities, and it really just covered all my expenses, plus a little bit extra for me just to spend. I could afford to give up the day job. And so I did. I then went on and became a letting agent. I'd always talked about this. I always said, I want to be a letting agent. I want my own business. And I dreamed of this. And yeah, I fell into it so naturally. And I became a specialist letting agent, specialising in what we call in the UK professional HMOs, houses of multiple occupation. So they're where you rent the rooms out on an individual basis to either students or to professionals. I was looking to buy in that market, become a landlord in that market. But actually there were some business models out there that enabled you to sort of try before you buy. And they call it rent to rent. And I had the opportunity to get involved with that. I went to some property meetings, I met some property people. And as a result of that, I started to scale up my new business. And we ended up having, I say we, my partner Paul and I ended up managing and finding tenants for over 97 professional HMOs. And we did that really for the last 9 years. We had a couple of employees. And so the whole learnings from starting my own business. 10 years on, I'm now 61. And about 8 months ago, some of my colleagues who were still at my previous corporate company have had their payoffs. They walked away with really good packages, and they rang me and said, oh my gosh, we've got these packages. I could have stayed there for another 10 years and I would have had a really good payoff. And then I reflected a little bit more. I thought, my God, do you know what? The last 10 years of my life, of running my own business, of learning how to run my own business, of building my property portfolio, of managing other people's properties. I don't get up and set the alarm. I cannot tell you, for me, how utterly fantastic that is. I'm not really at the beck and call of other people. And if anything, I've decided to start my channel because if you are thinking around the age of 50 of doing something new, do it. Do it. Life is not a dress rehearsal. Obviously, get yourself set up so you have a year's worth of income that you could fall back on in case you're not making any money in the early days. But you know what? Life is not a dress rehearsal. And I think we underestimate, really do. And this is what I found when I first left my corporate job. We come out as older people with such a wealth of experience, such a wealth of experience that we can use in the everyday marketplace.